everybody, my name is Valentina, this is Rachel and Evan, and we will be introducing today chapter 6 and talking about nonverbal communication. We'll be going over the different roles of nonverbal communication, the different functions of it, how it can be ambiguous, the different influences on it, and the different types of nonverbal communication. Now, let's move on to talking about the definition of nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication literally stands for communicating without words. And so any sight, laugh, noise, gesture that you make is a nonverbal message that we're sending. For this reason, written words and sign language don't fall under this category. Now, it's really important to remember that no matter what we do, we're still communicating and sending information about ourselves. There are two types of nonverbal communication. One is intentional, for example, if I do this, and one is unintentional, for example, blushing, sweating, stuttering. But regardless of the nonverbal message that we're sending, others will still observe it and make their own interpretations about it. Now, let's talk about the different roles of nonverbal communication. First of all, it can have very practical functions. For example, if I'm a police officer, I'm going to use it to tell cars to stop or to go right or to go left. But the first role that we have is to identity management. We all strive to present ourselves in certain ways. So we act in a certain way to present ourselves for others. For example, if I'm going to a party and I'm smiling a lot, I'm trying to convey the message that I'm a cheerful and a friendly person. Now, the second role that we have here is to define the kind of relationship we want with others. So, for example, just think of the broad range of greetings that you can greet someone with. You can shake hands, you can give a kiss, you can pat on the back, or you can avoid all contact. Now, that already tells a lot. Let's think of another example. What about the last time that someone was upset at you? How did you first realize it? Probably by looking at their nonverbal clues, their facial expression. Maybe they weren't making eye contact with you. Maybe they were turning away from you. So before they even made the direct statement, you already knew that they were upset at you. Now, the third and last role that we have here is conveying emotions. Now, nonverbal messages are better suited than words at expressing feelings and attitude towards things. For this reason, a facial expression is worth 1,000 words. Now, let's move on to talking about the different functions of nonverbal communication. First of all, let's keep in mind that verbal communication and nonverbal communications are interconnected and they operate together in conversations. The first function that we have here is called repeating. We'll be giving you guys some examples of the functions, and the first one we have here is repeating. So repeating is to use gestures along with words to illustrate better. And here's an example of it. Hello, Evan. Do you know where the library is?
Yes, it's over there to the left.
Thank you, Evan. So as you guys can see here, Evan pointed towards the library to show me in which direction it was. And that is called repeating. The second function that we have is called complementing, and it is to match your thoughts and emotions with your words. And here is an example of it.
Hey,
Rachel. It's so nice to see you.
It's nice to see you too.
Are you ready to go to the party?
Are you glad to the party?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
So, as you guys can see here, I smiled when I said it's nice to see Rachel because I was happy to see her, and she rolled her eyes to show that she didn't like my dress. And that is called complimenting. Now, the third function that we have is called substituting, and it is to use gestures instead of words. And here is an example of it. Hello, Evan.
How's it going?
How's it going? Are you okay? All right, thanks, Evan. So, as you guys can see here, Evan was reluctant to express his feelings in words, and he used a gesture to show me how he felt. Now, the fourth function we have is called accenting, and it is to emphasize oral message, and it is the equivalent of underlining in writing. For example, if I say, "Oh no, the mouse is broken. Sasha, it's your fault. It's all your fault." So, if I say that, I'm pointing towards Sasha to show that I think it's her fault that the mouse is broken. Now the fifth function we have is called regulating, and it is to influence the flow in nonverbal communication. I can influence by nodding, showing that I'm interested, by looking away, show that I'm uninterested. For example,
Hey Valentina, what's up? How are you doing?
Hi.
I'm doing so good. I got this new jacket. What do you think about it? I don't know about the gray though. I think I should probably get something with color because you know it brings out my eyes. I'm just really not so sure. I mean, how does it look with my shoes? I don't know. Like, what do you think about this shirt though? I got this at Old
I gotta go, bye! So, as you guys can see here, I was not interested in what Rachel had to say to me. And I was walking towards the door to show that I wanted to end the conversation. I was looking at my watch, I was looking away. I just wanted to end the conversation with Rachel. And that is called regulating. Now the sixth function we have is called contradicting, and it is to send mixed messages that don't match your words. And here is an example of it.
Hey,
Hello, Rachel. I know this is your favorite shirt and you love it so much, but would you mind if I borrowed it to go camping?
Yeah, it's fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah, go ahead.
Really? All right, thank you. So as you guys can see here, Rachel said yes, that I could borrow her shirt, but she didn't convey the message that she was okay with me borrowing her shirt. She had her arms crossed, her voice looked cold, and her face looked angry. That is called contradicting. Now the seventh and last function that we have here is called deceiving, and it is to send inconsistent messages. It is also called a leakage, and it is typical of people who are lying or trying to hide something. And here is an example of it. Oh my God, Rachel, you're never going to believe what I saw. I was in Nonverbal, and I saw I've been walking to a sexy shop.
No way.
Yeah, like about an hour ago, and it was
No
him.
way.
Yeah, it was him.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, he's coming. He's
Okay, I'm
coming.
gonna go.
Ivan,
How's it
you're
going,
late.
Valentina? Oh, sorry.
Where
just
were you?
Caught in traffic.
Really?
Yeah.
I saw you in Nonverbal walking to a sex store.
No, I was down at my house in the valley all day.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. You don't have to be embarrassed about it.
Definitely wasn't me. It must have been mistaken.
Evan, is that sexy lingerie what you're wearing?
No, but I think my phone's ringing. I gotta go answer this call real quick. I'll see you later.
All right, bye. So, as you guys can see here, Evan was deceiving. His face looked worried, his body looked uncomfortable, his tone of voice got louder at times. So he was lying, actually, to us, because he was wearing sexy lingerie. He had been to a sex store. Now, let's move on to talking about the ambiguity of nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication can be ambiguous. It can have many different interpretations. For example, I would like to ask someone's opinion about this picture. What do you think is happening here? How do you think Rachel or Valentina are feeling? Yes, what about you, Alice?
I think that Valentina looks really angry and Rachel looks really excited about something.
Okay. What do you think might have happened?
I think maybe that like Valentina's upset because she didn't get something and Rachel did.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely a possible interpretation. Now, do I have anybody else who thinks differently, who has a different interpretation? What about you, Andrew?
I think that Valentina is watching a movie and she's not really interested, and Rachel is very excited about the movie. Maybe it's her favorite movie or something.
Yeah, that's a great interpretation. Thank you. So yes, as you guys can see here, nonverbal communication can be very ambiguous and can have very many different interpretations, and it's hard to know the correct one. Now, I'm going to pass it on to Rachel, who will be talking to us about the influences of nonverbal communication.
Okay, thank you, Valentina. I'm going to talk about the influences of nonverbal communication, which are gender and culture. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so gender. There are recognizable differences in the way that men and women look and act. For example, if I could have Evan and Valentina up here. Men tend to be taller and have a deeper tone of voice.
Oh.
Women shorter and a higher tone of voice. Also, women are more non-verbally expressive and are better at recognizing others' nonverbal behavior. Thanks, guys. And sit down. Okay. So here are some other differences between men and women with regards to nonverbal behavior. Men tend to interact at closer distances. Women smile more. Men make less eye contact. Women are more vocally expressive. So those are just a few differences. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about cultural differences. So some nonverbal behaviors have different meanings from culture to culture. For example, the OK gesture, most of us regard as positive. But in France and Belgium, it literally means you're worth 0. And cultural background also greatly influences the way we interpret others' emotions and the way we express our own. It has been proven that ethnicity can lead to differences in the way we judge others' emotional states, and also what we consider appropriate in terms of expressing ourselves emotionally. So here are some examples of cultural differences in nonverbal communication. Here's a behavior avoiding direct eye contact that's common with Latinos. And a possible in-group perception could be that it shows attentiveness or respect. An out-group perception, however, could be that it shows inattentiveness, and they might prefer eye contact. Okay. So on to the next slide. Now we're going to move on to the main types of nonverbal behavior. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Okay. Which are body movement, voice, touch, appearance, physical space, physical environment, and time. So I'm going to talk about body movement, and then Evan will cover the rest. Okay. So body movement. Body orientation is the degree to which we face toward or away from someone with our body, our feet, and our head. So for example, if I turn maybe like this towards the class or away from the class, it shows that maybe I'm nervous and I don't want to engage with the students. Whereas if I face people head on, that shows that I'm projecting confidence and I want to talk to the class. So the general rule is that facing someone head on shows desire for involvement, whereas facing away from them shows desire to avoid involvement. Okay, now we're going to move on to posture. And posture is just simply how one carries their body. Tension and relaxation are good postural indicators to feeling. For example, I see that Sasha over there is kind of slunched over in her chair, you know, maybe she's not feeling so well, maybe she's sick or tired from the night before. So now I'm going to talk about gestures. And gestures refer to the movement of the hands and the arms. They can be divided into 4 types. Illustrators is the first one I'm going to talk about. And illustrators are the most common type. They're movements that accompany speech, but they don't stand on their own. So a good example of this would be someone that talks with their hands. They could be talking on the phone and gesturing wildly, even though the person on the other line can't even see them, but they do it anyway. Next is emblems, and emblems are deliberate nonverbal behaviors that have a precise meaning known to virtually every cultural group. Unlike illustrators, emblems can stand on their own or as a replacement for words. So let's pick on Elliot. So Elliot, what does this mean?
Yes.
What does this mean?
No.
This?
Okay.
Okay, good job. It's important to remember, though, that the meanings of all emblems are not universal. Okay, adapters. Adapters are unconscious body movements in response to the environment. So a good example of this would be shivering when you're cold. And now manipulators. And manipulators are self-touching behaviors that not everyone does. They're often a sign of discomfort. So an example of this could be kind of fidgeting with your hands, maybe playing with your hair, maybe chewing on a pen cap. And although people often use them when they're uncomfortable, they can also use them when their guard is down or they're comfortable around their friends. So now we're moving on to face and eyes. And face and eyes are difficult to understand because of the speed with which they can occur. We can usually tell different emotions shown most clearly in different parts of the face, though. Like, for example, happiness in the eyes and the lower part of the face. Something important to remember is that a genuine facial expression usually doesn't last longer than 5 seconds. So you can use that when you're trying to judge the authenticity of someone's reaction. And sometimes it's possible to see something that's called a micro-expression, which is just a flash of expression that goes through the face. So for just that moment, it could allow us to see an expression that could be quite different than what the speaker was trying to convey. And the eyes themselves can send lots of messages too. I'm sure we've all heard of the expression making eyes, which usually sends the message that the looker is interested in whoever they're maintaining eye contact with. So before I hand it over to Evan, I'm going to show you a video of nonverbal communication in the form of a ritual dance. So this clip shows a New Zealand rugby team called the All Blacks, and this is a dance that they perform before their matches to intimidate their opponents. So did that intimidate you guys at all?
Yes, I thought it was very intimidating. I've never seen that before. What was that again from?
That is actually from a rugby team from New Zealand called the All Blacks.
Okay.
And they use that before every match to intimidate their opponents.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. So now I'm going to hand it over to Evan, who will talk about the other types of nonverbal communication.
Thank you, Rachel. Once again, my name is Evan, and I'll be going over the final 6 types of nonverbal communication. And those are voice, touch, appearance, physical space, environment, and time. And the first one I'll be going over is voice. Now, the voice, the way you can pick up on a nonverbal message is through paralanguage, which is the tone, the speed. So if somebody speaks very quickly, they're going to be anxious. They want to get it over with. If somebody speaks very slowly and just try to cement their point home, they're going to have more confidence and respect from the people. The pitch, the volume, if you want to control a room, you speak very loudly. If you want to be withdrawn from the room, you're going to speak very quietly and into yourself. And disfluencies show lack of confidence, the ums, the oohs, the oral fillers that you usually use if you're nervous. And with this, I'm going to introduce a video from Orbit's Gum. It's a commercial. And it's a very ambiguously contextual conversation between 2 people.
You son of a biscuit-eating bulldog!
The French toast.
I will find out about your two-head cootie queen.
Who are you calling a cootie queen, you lit
Gargle, you cunt! Overreact. No, you're overreacting when I put your convertible into a wood chipper. Stinky McStink face!
You hobo.
Fabulous! New Orbit Raspberry Mint cleans another dirty mouth. For a good clean feeling, no matter what.
So as you can see, the words French toast and Hoboken, when taken out of context of the commercial, really have no value to them, but you can get what they're trying to say there. And with also paralanguage, you want to work on the emphasis of the words. Now in this one sentence, this is a fantastic communication book. You can emphasize the different words to emphasize your point. This is a fantastic communication book. This is a fantastic communication book. This is a fantastic communication book, and this is a fantastic communication book. So each one you're trying to emphasize a different part of the sentence and make your point that much more clear. And this can be found on page 218 in your textbook. The next one I'll be going over will be haptics, which is the study of touch. And with touch, the way you communicate a nonverbal message is through the part of the body you are making contact with, the duration, the pressure, and the reaction to the contact. Now there's 4 different types. There's functional, social, polite, and aggressive. Functional would be, getting a haircut, the barber's all over your head, touching your head. There's really no verbal communication through that, nonverbal communication through that, but it is a functional and professional situation. The next would be a social or polite, a handshake, a greeting, kissing somebody on the cheek, a hug. You're trying to convey that you want to have social communication with them. Sexual would be things like kissing, massaging, stroking of the hair, things that you want to convey that you like this person and that you want to continue having a relation with them. And aggressive, so if you kick somebody in the shins, you're trying to convey the message that you really don't like them, or you punch them in the face or push them, something like that. Now, with physical appearance and attractiveness. Attractiveness is basically that people that are more attractive are easily approachable and easier to communicate with. And it's just a stated fact on page 223. And with clothing, as you can see, we're all wearing different types of clothes. And with clothing, you're able to show the different personality of somebody. I used to work in the nightclub business where a lot of people will come in wearing very nice clothes. They're trying to convey the message that they have money, when in reality they come up to the valet with a $300 Honda. And it's just, they're trying to project something that's maybe not the most true about them. And this is also found in Los Angeles, which is a very appearance-based culture. Now, with physical space, the study of which is proxemics, anthropologist Edward Hall listed 4 spatial zones that we generally live by. I'm going to use Rachel as an example. The first of which is an 18-inch intimate zone for very few people. As you can see, I have more of a personal relation with Rachel, and as I enter her intimate zone, she's kind of withdrawn and things like that. As I step back from 18 inches to 4 feet, which is the personal zone, she's more comfortable at an arm's length distance. The next would be a social distance, which is 4 to 7 feet for a close social distance, and 7 to 12 feet for a far social distance. And the last one is a public distance, which is above 12 feet, which is what you find in a classroom setting. And the next I will be showing territoriality, which is basically you have your room, you have your favorite chair, things that you hold dear to yourself that are your territory, and you're very defensive over them. And this can be found in a movie that I will introduce to you in a second. The next would be physical environment, which is basically how the room, the feng shui of the room, how it flows, how it's conducive to, in this case, learning. The desks in this picture are all jumbled across, they're facing the wall, they're not facing towards the classroom, so as people sit down on them, it's not very conducive to learning. But what we did was we structured them in the normal classroom setting, and we sat down, and as you can see, we're all ready to learn there. And what I'm going to introduce to you now is a Room Raiders intro for the show. It's an MTV show where the whole premise is based on, it's a dating show where 3 guys or 3 girls are based and picked on the room solely. They never meet the person.
You're watching the first episode of Spring Break Room Raiders on MTV Overdrive. Welcome to Room Raiders, Texas. On this spring break episode, watch this sexy model give these 3 guys the surprise of their lives when they find out they're being picked to go on a date to spring break in Miami, not based on their looks or charm, but by what's inside their bedrooms.
You think you can handle me in the ring?
Sweetheart, you're an okay.
Ooh.
I love you.
I like a guy who knows how to screw.
I'm pretty handy. I know how to use my tools.
So as you can see, she is asked to choose one of these 3 guys solely on what is in their room. A poster, she may have the same musical interest, some weights shows that they're interested to keep their body in shape, different music, different sports maybe, things like that. The last subject I'll be going over is chronemics, which is the study of time and how people use and structure their time. Now in general, there's 2 different types of chronemics, monochronic and polychronic. Monochronic is punctuality, is schedule-based, 1 task at a time, and this is generally found in American, European, German, and Swiss cultures. And the second type is polychronic, which is a multitasking culture that jump from one task to another, and it's very open and not set schedule. And this is generally found in Arab and Southern American cultures. And this can be found on page 228 in your textbook. Now, in conclusion, it is impossible not to send nonverbal messages, which means if you were to sit there with your arms crossed and your eyes closed, you're still sending the message to people that basically you want to keep to yourself, you don't want to be spoken to, you don't want to involve yourself in the rest of the world. And finally, nonverbal communication is often better than verbal communication at revealing feelings and attitude. So basically, what people can tell you with a verbal message is very different with what they may be showing you with a nonverbal message. They may tell you that they like you, but their body posture and the way they look at you is not showing the same message. And is there any questions?